Lavern McDonald, Associate Director of the Upper School at the Calhoun School on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I've been there for 12 years and I enjoy working with kids, teaching, doing administration. I live in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and I'm from Jamaica originally. I've been in central Brooklyn for about 30 years, so I'm very much a Brooklynite at this point with deep roots in Jamaica is what I like to think of myself as. So central Brooklyn is really the heart of Caribbean New York, if not heart of Caribbean America. There's a critical mass of people who live here. It's where the diaspora meets itself. We don't meet ourselves, we don't meet each other in the Caribbean, we meet each other in Brooklyn. And so Brooklyn is really home to lots of different languages, lots of different accents, lots of different food styles, music styles. A lot of the stories of Caribbean people get mashed together here in central Brooklyn. And I think that's what I really appreciate about it, because I'm able to encounter the Caribbean here. It's not a singular Caribbean, it's a very diverse Caribbean. It's a working class Caribbean, it's a middle class Caribbean, it's also a very upper class Caribbean. There are artists, there are writers, there are musicians, there are all types of Caribbean people here. We have a critical mass of Caribbean people in New York City. What you're just seeing, however, I think, is this sort of political maturation process. And so you're not necessarily seeing us represented. We're not necessarily vocal when it comes to the various political processes or media processes, etc. So while you will see us in public life and street life and daily life, we're definitely represented. You'll hear our voices on the trains, you'll see our children in schools, etc. You're not necessarily seeing institutions responding to the critical mass, to our particular needs as Caribbean people in New York. But the fact is that we are here, and I think it's imperative that we start to think about, well, what is it that we need to sustain ourselves, to flourish? How can we organize things for ourselves? How can we also invite the various organizations and institutions that blanket our city to begin to respond to our particular needs? So I think it's imperative that we look at representing our own stories, because I think in the larger sphere of things, it's people's stories that really reflect who they are, where they come from, and also their hopes and aspirations, where they're looking to go, what are they hoping for their children. It tells us about how they've actualized life in this new place. And so it really brings you into the sort of human qualities that all people possess, in fact. And so I think it's imperative that our stories come into the public sphere here. One track could be that we go the independent route and we look to shape our own institutions. I think that's important because there's sort of integrity about the process, that we own what we produce. But at the same time, I think we have to be responsive to what's happening economically and culturally, etc. I think it's imperative that we also establish partnerships. It's important that we work with established institutions, that we look at how we can shape the agendas of these institutions, how can we render them more holistic and more representative of the population and the needs of the populations that they serve. So when I think about some of the existing organizations, I think that they perhaps were birthed in a time when the population looked differently, when the population's needs were perhaps a little bit different. So when I think about the festival organization, for example, I think it's important that our stories are being told, and I thought, I'm going to come and see this festival. And I came out and there were these wonderful stories on screen, and there was this dynamic woman, Shelley Worrell, who was at the heart of all of this, and I thought, this is so lovely. How can I support this? So it was important to come out to Tribeca and to be in community with people at the festival last fall. And so I'm just delighted that this is happening.